The morning sun painted the hills of Beersheba in soft gold as Rebekah groaned within her womb. For years, Isaac and his wife had waited, every whispered prayer carried on the desert wind. At last, the time came. The midwife drew forth 2 sons twins, whose very struggle foretold the seething currents beneath their future lives. The first, ruddy and rugged, named Esau for his hairiness. The second, clutching his brother's heel, Jacob, destined to supplant him. Their cries echoed through the tent, marking the dawn of 2 nations bound by blood, yet divided by destiny. Isaac doted on the hunter Esau, delighting in the stews he brought home. Rebekah, however, found her heart drawn toward the quieter Jacob, whose gaze lingered on far horizons. Like 2 currents in a river, their affections swirled and clashed, hinting at deep undercurrents of rivalry from their very first breath. The brothers embodied destiny's tension, one bound to the open fields, the other to the whispered promise of covenant inheritance. One crimson evening, Esau returned from the field, his stomach grumbling with hunger. He found Jacob stirring a pot of red lentils. "Feed me, I pray thee, with that red pottage," Esau groaned, too famished to bargain. Jacob seized the moment, his mind racing with Rebekah's words about the birthright sealed by firstborn rights. "Sell me thy birthright now," he urged, ladle poised. Esau's hunger eclipsed his heritage, and, with a careless oath, he relinquished the legacy promised by God. The parchment exchange that followed would ripple through centuries. One brother's impulsive appetite forever traded for another as guile. In that hasty barter, the divine thread of promise began to unravel and rewind toward Jacob, even as Esau strode away, belief in tomorrow drowned by immediate need. As Isaac aged and his vision dimmed, he summoned Esau to prepare a savory feast and receive the paternal blessing. Rebekah, overhearing the plan, felt a cold prickle of dread. Her favorite son might be robbed of his destiny. With fierce resolve, she plotted a ruse that would secure the covenantal blessing for Jacob. She dressed him in Esau's garments, disguised his hands with goat skins, and anointed his neck with oil, her own hands trembling at the deception. Summoned to his father's tent, the trembling Jacob obeyed Rebekah's instruction, his heart pounding like desert thunder. "Art thou my very son, Esau?" Isaac questioned, sniffing the earthy aroma. "I am," came the feigned reply, moved by the voice he thought familiar. Isaac bestowed the blessing with trembling hands, pronouncing prosperity and preeminence. Before the echoes had faded, the truth exploded like lightning. Esau's grief and wrath would send Jacob fleeing into an uncertain horizon. At dawn's first light, Jacob dipped his finger into a well and drank, tasting freedom and fear. His mother's embrace was a hasty farewell as he set out for Haran, guided only by the promise God had whispered to his father's line. Carried on his back were both the weight of deception and the hope of divine protection. With each step across the arid plains, Jacob felt the past's shadows stalking him, yet beneath his fear glimmered faith in the God of Abraham and Isaac. Under a starry sky, Jacob paused to rest, laying stones beneath his head. In sleep, he dreamt of a ladder stretching from earth to heaven, its rungs alive with angels ascending and descending. Above it stood the transcendent presence, who spoke with soft authority. "I am the Lord God of Abraham and Isaac. Thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth." Jacob awoke, heart ablaze, recognizing the site as Bethel, the house of God, and vowed to honor the covenant, if God watched over him on his journey. Months passed as Jacob traversed wilderness and pasture, reaching the land of his mother's kin. At a dusty well, he beheld a flock and its shepherds, including the radiant Rachel, drawing water for her father's sheep. His heart thundered in his chest. Her beauty surpassed every memory of home. He rolled the stone from the well's mouth with ease, mirroring the strength of his determination. So began their first conversation, laughter mingling with desert wind as Jacob confessed his lineage and his longing. Jacob fell to his knees before Laban, his uncle, and pledged service in exchange for Rachel's hand. Laban greeted him with feigned warmth, yet the glint in his eye revealed a calculating heart. "Stay with me," he smiled, "and I will give thee thy wages." Jacob toiled for 7 years, each one dissolving as a few days, in the glow of Rachel's love. But on their wedding night, Laban's deceit unmasked itself. Leah, the elder sister, veiled and silent, replaced the bride of his affections. Distraught, Jacob confronted the trickster. Laban shrugged, bound by covenant, yet unashamed. It is not done so in our country to marry the younger before the firstborn. He offered Rachel 2 of Jacob would serve another 7 years. Love's flame burned brighter than resentment. Job agreed, forging bonds steeped both in affection and bitter compromise. Leah opened her womb while Rachel remained barren in the household side. Leah named her sons Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Juda's title, carrying her grief and hope for her husband's love. Rachel's heart fractured with jealousy, and in desperation she gave her maid Bilhah to Jacob, bearing Dan and Naphtali in her name. Leah responded in kind, presenting Zilpah, who bore Gad and Asher. The sons multiplied, and so did the tension. Between the chambers, between the coiled incense of sacrifice and the bleeding flocks, the rivalry played out in names and tears. Each child a testament to women contending for affection, each son a banner in the quiet war for Jacob's heart. In the weaving of love and sorrow, the tapestry of Israel began to reveal its intricate design. As Jacob toiled, flocks increased under his shepherd's skill, speckled and spotted lambs marking his cunning. By cunning, he outwitted Laban's flocks. By blessing, he amassed wealth. He carved wooden rods, leaning them against watering troughs, and nature cooperated. The stronger animals bore speckled young. Laban stood, bewildered, his household's fortunes shifting toward the stranger he had deceived. Rachel, once barren, finally conceived Joseph, her addition and joy, her laughter echoing Isaac's gift to Rebekah. Around the winter hearth, Leah bore Judah, and Rachel rejoiced for her husband's love. In the mingling clamor of children's cries and the low of cattle, Jacob beheld the promise fulfilled, nations within him and kings from his loins. At journey's end, Jacob stood once more on Bethel's threshold, a man transformed by deception, devotion, and divine encounter. The God who spoke in a latter dream had become his fortress, sheltering him through trickery and toil. As he gazed across the gathered flocks and chattering children, he whispered, "Surely the Lord is in this place." From barren wombs, from hasty bargains, from quiet faith and bold schemes, the tapestry of Israel emerged, woven in darkness and light, by hands unseen, guided by promises older than the hills. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you. God bless.